process is, they kind of showed up in 2008 saying, hey, we want to put a pipeline across your land. And this wasn't the first time a pipeline asked to come across our property. 2 others have, and my dad said, we don't want a pipeline on our land. Can you find another way? Can you go around this? And they said, yeah. So they found a way that was, 100 yards on the other side of the property line, but still it wasn't on us. Right. So when TransCanada showed up, and Dad said, we'd rather you not come across our land. Can you find another way? And they said, no, we're coming across. So fast forward, 3 years, their first offer was $5,000. A one-time payment over the life of the farm, $5,000 to lose control of a sliver of land. It finally made its way to $21,000, and we just said no, because we have archaeological deposits in that pasture, we have water right questions, and they said, we're going to condemn your land. And the way the condemnation process works in Texas is, if we don't sign that final lease, TransCanada says, we have the power of eminent domain, even though no one in Texas really monitors that. And they went to a judge and said, Judge, you're going to condemn the Crawford's land. And they condemn it, boom, and we don't find out till after it's done. And they said, your land's been condemned by the judge, and you can come to a hearing where 3 local landowners will decide what you're going to get paid for. Well, up until that point, I've had no access to a judge. The landowner has no access to a judge before your land is condemned. And that's kind of, that's where we started, said we're going to appeal it. So that's the only way you can get access to the system is if you appeal it. And that's kind of where it started. And TransCanada picked this fight with us. They're the plaintiffs, we're the defendants. Right. They came after us. Wow. But condemnation means that they get the land and they don't own the land, but they have control of the land. So I still pay taxes on it, but they get control of it, and it's from the ground to the center of the earth. It's the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And right now, this is the pasture they want to go through, and they want to go through here. So they own a strip here that they basically control, and it kind of makes everything else not worth much because you can't build a road over it. I can't build a building on it. I can't build a road over it. There's limitations on at what angle I can cross it. I have to allow them. They got their own gates and stuff like that. And I just don't, Texans are a proud lot anyway, and especially if someone's going to say we're going to take your land. Oh, don't go there. So yeah. The don't mess with Texas thing, You gotta be standing up. I said, I'm just a farmer. And why does a farmer have to stand up and do the job that a state agency should be doing? I said, the honor system is not working, because all you gotta do is check this box to say I'm a common carrier, and I at some point will allow other people to put their oil in my pipeline, and for that reason, I should be able to take people's land, because it's for the common good. If someone's building a road or a highway for everybody, or getting water to a city, or electricity to a hospital, that's when I think land should really be taken. If it's for the common good. Mm-hmm. But by every indication, this pipeline is a money-making endeavor to get a product from A to B and then probably ship it out of the country. And we're just being used, absolutely used. Because we have water rights to the creek over here that we irrigate our farm out of, and TransCanada is going to horizontally drill under that creek with that pipeline. So if anything happens and it's a rupture, it gets in my water and my water is gone. And we're going through a drought, and if you don't have water, your crops die. It's come to this. Yeah. Just the insane spin that TransCanada is putting on the jobs and the money and the energy independence. It's just a bunch of hype. It's just a bunch of hype. Yeah. And the people, in this county, there were a lot of people that just signed the leases because they were under the assumption this was just a normal pipeline like all the other pipelines, just sending regular old crude through. And it's like, no guys, this is a wholly different product. It's a Canadian company. It's a huge pipeline. They don't know what they're doing. It could ruin your place. It's like death by 1,000 cuts. We're all trying to find that thing because none of us have the big hammer, of money or clout necessarily. But man, if all of us, it's like the Lilliputians, we all got to do little tethers and pull down the giant, and that's about what it is. Yeah. For someone who was never an activist, I was a Girl Scout cheerleader. You don't rock the boat, you don't cause problems, you don't get arrested, you do that. I have no, I carry my arrest thing behind my driver's license. I'm so proud of that. I'm so proud of that. And I do it again. At the end, no matter what happens, Karen, at the end of the day, if we get the shit kicked out of us 2 or 3 times all over the food chain, I'm at least going to be able to say I did everything that was humanly possible. I worked every angle, I raised every penny I could, I stood up for principles and I didn't fold. And at the end of the day, I can look myself in the mirror. I gave it a good shot. And maybe in the end, all we need to start a ripple. It may not have made the home run, but we started a dialogue that maybe changes a law, that makes sure down the road this doesn't happen again. Well, our final hearing, kind of the big crescendo hearing, was August the 10th. And it was actually a pre-trial hearing because it was to decide whether TransCanada had the right to take it but that's kind of what it was. So, but this was the first time we really had the chance to really argue common carrier eminent domain. And we thought we made a very compelling case that because TransCanada had not brought anything to the table, we had asked for proof that they met the qualifications of common carrier, that they then, and because of that, only because of that would they've had the right of eminent domain. They came to the table and the only thing they addressed, they said, we asked for a tariff schedule, which is what they charge, which is supposed to be non-discriminatory and published as part of being a common carrier. And they said that they would not have the evidence that we asked for that they qualified until after the pipeline was built and product was moving. So the evidence they could take my land is not available until after they take it, build the pipeline, start moving product. So it was very frustrating. It was pretty much a frustrating day, but the judge closed with some bogus, ill-informed statement. Well, Ms. Crawford, you were chained to the fence in front of the White House, which is totally wrong. That was the action in September the 1st of 2010, 2011, whatever it was. So at the end of this hearing, I asked if I could approach the bench. Everybody kind of his eyes go big. So I went up and I told the judge, I said, that's not what happened at all. Would you like me to set you straight on what happened in Washington? We said, Ms. Crawford, I admire you, I respect you, I admire what you're doing. And I said, Judge, do you really mean that? And he said, yeah. I said, then shake my hand. And I stuck my hand over the top of the bench. He shook my hand, but it was a very condescending thing. Anyway, I walked away from that feeling like we'd made our case, but knowing it was a total long shot. The judge was going to rule in our favor. So the judge sat on, was thinking about it, I guess, for 10 days. And on the 22nd of August, late in the day, we figured by 8 o'clock, the judge was probably not going to make this ruling the next day. I get a phone call from a local reporter saying, I'd like to get your reaction to the judge's ruling. Because I hadn't heard from my attorney, I said, well, I haven't seen the ruling. How'd you find out? He goes, well, the judge copied me on the ruling. Well, the judge had blind copied the press so no one could see that he sent it. And basically it was a 15-word ruling from his iPhone that TransCanada's motion for summary judgment, MSJ, was granted. TransCanada's no evidence motion for summary judgment was granted. Defendant's plea of the jurisdiction denied. Sent from my iPhone. So after months of testimony and thousands of pages of documents and international exposure, it was a 15-word ruling was all we got. The most important ruling in the last 18 months regarding property rights and eminent domain in Texas was the Denbury Green case that said when challenged by a landowner, a pipeline bears the burden of showing they qualify. That was never even mentioned or even held up in our lower case. So, why I was so fortunate to become the person that led my family's fight, I don't know. There's not many days does it feel like a burden. It actually feels like an absolute blessing. And even though it has negatively impacted personal relationships and been financially draining and just physically exhausting, all it takes is a hug from someone or a letter that says thank you for doing what you're doing, or the time you're buying in this issue
And the visibility you're giving gives the bigger issue, which is the XL and all those other dragons we gotta slay. You're doing something good. So I'm very proud of what's going on. I'm very proud of what's going on. I'm proud of what I'm doing, but what I'm totally embarrassed about and what makes me so angry is, we were sold, the people affected by this southern leg were basically sold out. We were thrown under the bus. And wow, the flash and bang is all about the Keystone XL. The fact that TransCanada probably planned this as a plan B or C to uncouple this southern leg, and then the president going on national television saying he was going to fast track it and cut out all the red tape so that it could happen quickly with no further environmental studies. We feel sold